right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all our viewers around the world. Welcome to the latest episode of the Master Chefs Live. This is my first live event, so be kind. After the success of our last week's live feed on how to make bread, today we introduced 3 different dips to use with a Cob Loaf. Our first is a savoury dip with camembert cheese, garlic and rosemary. The second one is a sweet dip with camembert, fresh cranberries and thyme. And our third dip is a cheesy spinach dip. All right, welcome all our cheese lovers. Moving along, we're going to start with our Cob Loaf. And we've just prepared one of these earlier today. And the Cob Loaf is a style of bread. You can find it in any supermarkets, any bakeries, or make it at home like we did this morning. All right, preheating your oven now to 200 degrees Celsius will get us started well. What we're going to do now is we're going to put our cob on the side and then cutting with a serrated knife just a couple of centimeters from the top to give us a flat base to put the camembert cheese on. All right, opening that up here, then we place our camembert on top and using our knife to cut around the camembert. You want to leave 1 to 2 centimeters border so that when you put it into the oven, the loaf doesn't collapse on you. Additionally, you don't want to touch the bottom of the base because you don't want the cheese to ooze out while it's in the oven. Okay, once we've gone around with the knife, take that off. You also want it to be a little bit wider than the camembert because you want to make sure that it actually does fit. Grabbing a knife, we will then cut through the middle in a cross-section manner, just to make it easier to scoop out the insides. Now, it doesn't have to be pretty when scooping out the insides. This is all the fun. Now, this part is going to be used as bread for dipping later on into the dips. Beautiful. So that will also go into the oven with the rest of it. Now, you can scoop this out and put it onto long twigs to use and serve. You can also put it in the blender and create breadcrumbs with any extra leftover. All right, so what you do is you use a skewer, you thread through the pieces of bread. Once you've threaded through the pieces of bread, you've made the indent inside the loaf pieces. And then for serving, adds great flavour through the bread as well and decorative on the plate, so you can bring out your pieces of bread in that way. Okay, so putting our bread pieces to the side. Nice. Now we have our base for our first dip. Now our first dip is we're going to make the baked camembert and garlic cob. So making sure it will definitely fit in. Perfect. Taking it out, we will then score it into quarters. Going down about half the way. Again, we don't want to touch the bottom of the cheese. Then we use 4 cloves of garlic. Now, I absolutely love garlic. And some people are worried about getting that big hit of garlic when you actually dip into this dip. But it's absolutely amazing. To me, you are lucky if you get that part. All right. So now that we've cut 4 cloves into halves, we then put 2 halves into each section. And the flavour that we're going to pair it with is rosemary, beautiful, nearly done there, 2 more to go. And the rosemary we're actually going to put into the corners. So I'm going to use a skewer, or if you don't have a skewer, there we go, it was camouflaged. All right, so just put skewer dots, possibly 2 or 3 into each section. And that allows you to add in the rosemary. Now the rosemary fuses with the garlic, adds a great flavour. Let's get some with a little bit of a stem. But you pull them out just before you're about to eat. Beautiful. Putting that in there. If you find they're not going in too easily, just use a knife and give it a bit of a score. And very soon we're going to season it with salt and pepper. Beautiful. Now some people actually take off the top, but I love the top of the camembert cheese, so I like to leave it on. And the way that we scored it here, when it's hot and it's been in the oven, if you don't like the white top, but some of you do, because of the gooiness of it being heated, you can actually just pull back the top and you can just eat the cheese in between. Where other people score it in crosses and zigs and zags, so you have to have the white part whether you like it or not. So this is a great compromise. All right, then we place that in the Cob Loaf, seasoned with salt and pepper. Beautiful. Then we would add a drizzle of oil. Then what we would do is we would oil the lid. Perfect. Place it on top and cover it with foil. That would then go into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the center of the cheese and so forth and all the cheese is melted and gooey. But for today, we're going to use the same Cob Loaf because we already have one of each in the oven ready for you, or cooking, ready to show you all at one time at the end. So that's what you would do for the camembert and garlic. Next, moving on to the camembert and cranberry. Now you can use brie if you like, but we prefer camembert. Same again, I'll just move the loaf to the side because I'm going to show you how to actually, we've already scored this here, so nothing actually goes inside it here as yet. The cranberry one, we actually take the lid off. Now you can use fresh, dried or frozen cranberries. So we've just put them on the stove and then you add about half or quarter to a half a cup of sugar. Depends on how much you like. Maybe start off with a quarter. And if you find it's not to your liking, you like a little bit sweeter, remembering the cranberries are already very sweet, just add a little bit more sugar. So, putting the cranberries down the bottom. Now you might think there's not a lot of juice here at the moment, but I can tell you once it goes into the oven and it's heated, it really starts to come. All right, so we fill it with cranberries before we put the camembert in, making sure you do it from the sides. Now we've made a smaller one here because we're going to have one to come out of the oven, so we don't want too many. All right, once we've done that, if you're an adult and over the age of 18 and you like a little bit of a spark, with the cranberries, I can tell you there is nothing better than adding a little dash of something. just to make it that little bit of sweetness. So we did put that in while we were melting it and heating it up. Now, when you're actually heating it, it may look too liquefied, but after a time, once it starts to cool down, it does start to thicken up again, so don't panic about that one. Okay, then you would add in your cranberries again.
Or the camembert.
The camembert, sorry. But I meant the cranberries on top. No. Now, if you add these on top, by the time they melt, when you put them in the oven, it just looks amazing. It looks like rain has hit the top of the mountain and you've got these little streams falling down, and it just makes it even the amount as well. Adding in the thyme. So we add in thyme. This is more as a decorative tool. Gives it flavour as well. You might want to put some in just inside here as well as we go. Add some flavour. Hope you don't mind fingers. Adding into each section. It also provides a bit of decoration as well as flavour. Okay, some people prefer little twigs along the edges like that. Some people prefer it a little bit more hanging out. And again, season with salt and pepper. Some people like a little bit more. I love my pepper more than my salt. And again, drizzle with a bit of oil on top. And it may look like it's coming out of the loaf at the moment, but it won't come out too much once the cheese starts to melt. But you probably do want to get it a little bit lower than that. But going live, yeah, we worked as well as we could. Again, that goes on top, covering it again with foil and so forth. And the reason why we cover it with foil is because the bread is already cooked. We've got to be careful not to make sure we add too much moisture in there, it becomes soggy. So a gentle and a very light foil covering. Okay, so that basically is our second dip. So yummy, you have no idea. Okay, that will then be covered and placed into the oven. Now for my last dip, okay, take a big, large bowl, and then what we do is we add in 250 grams of cream cheese. I prefer Philadelphia. I just like the flavour, I like the texture of how it feels and how it works when I use it.
And make sure it's at room temperature.
That's right, room temperature is really important, otherwise you're going to have to get your hands in there, which I might have to anyway. Okay, once we do that, I'm just going to squash it down a little bit. I just want to get a little bit softer. Beautiful, nice and smooth. I really want to put my finger in and taste it. Okay, remember my manners. Okay, half a cup of yogurt. Mix that in as well.
What type of yogurt do you recommend?
I recommend Greek yogurt. Yeah, it's a healthier option and it just seems to go well with what I use. I can also then use it as leftover yogurt tomorrow morning with some more cranberries placed on top.
Very nice.
No problem. All right. That was a bit of impromptu, thank you. I don't mind people chatting and talking and asking questions. It actually makes it more fun. So, adding in next 40 grams of French onion soup mix. Making sure that's all mixed in well. And you want to have this all mixed in well before you add the spinach. So we're going to put in about 240 grams of spinach, chopped up finely. Or today we've decided to use the chopper, which blends it for you. But chopping finely will work as well. Okay, now all of our ingredients today, you should be able to find in your local supermarkets. If you find, for example, with the cranberry dip, just jumping back, that you prefer just to go an easier method, you can just buy cranberries sauce in a jar. So that's your other option, but we prefer from scratch. Okay, once that's mixed in, we then add in our spinach. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Mix that all in. Now it looks like it's extremely healthy, which is pretty good, with lots and lots of greens. Looks like it's overpowered by spinach, but the flavour with the cream cheese, it's not at all. Okay, just so we can mix it in. Salt, pepper, and I put a little bit more on later on when it comes out as well too. Making sure it looks unbelievable and it's evenly mixed in and combined. And then basically as soon as that's done, you pour that into the Cob Loaf. Into the center, and again, put the oil on top of the lid, and then you can, let me just grab a towel, and then you can cover it and put it into the oven too. Now, when you're serving these, you can put it together on a beautiful platter. So what we might do now, thank you, is we'll bring our platter over and we're going to end up bringing out some of our dips. Beautiful. All right, are we ready? Are we excited? Oh my, the smell of the oven opening. Unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to grab my oven mitts very quickly. All right. So let's see how they look. So you would normally put one of these. Lovely dips. Look at that. Put in about 10 minutes. Whoa. 5 to 10 minutes before we started the show. So it's not really melted 100% yet because we put all three in one go. So that obviously does affect the temperature in the oven. So that was our mistake, our bad. But we'll improve on that. Okay, so the other things that we consider and can think of is when you are, just while we're waiting a couple of minutes on the oven, if you do want to prepare for a family coming over or everyone coming to the table, what you can do is you can put in the oven and so forth like that and put in the freezer. So you can prepare the whole dish but without cooking it, and then you can place it into the freezer and you can have it ready before people come over or before your family come to the dinner table and so forth like that. Afterwards, if you don't eat it all, you can actually freeze them, but obviously you need to make sure it's covered in foil, put into like a plastic bag or something that makes it quite tight so the air doesn't get too much to it, and then you can freeze it for up to 3 months as well. You can also use any extra breadcrumbs, use them in the chopper, make them into breadcrumbs, put them in the freezer, and you can use them later on as well too.
So just a quick question, why did you use French onion soup mix?
Because of the flavour, it adds a good flavour to the mixture. So yeah, I just feel like it adds that little bit of a flavour to the tongue. Yeah. So.
And what are we going to be doing next week?
Okay, well, throughout the week,
waiting.
it's actually very exciting because we know it's Easter coming up and all the kids are going to be at home. We're trying to have a couple of different ideas that we're going to have where students or kids can come and make some things with us. So maybe not actually here with us, but we might create something today and then we'll say tomorrow we're going to make this and you need to get this, this and this ingredients ready. Then have your camera ready so you can watch us and you might even want a video yourself ready to send to us. And then we're going to do it and walk you through it so the kids can sit there and make the actual recipes with us. Then you can send that through to us. We'll be really excited. We can't wait to watch that. Yeah, should be good. So if you have any ideas on what you'd like us to make for the kids, some will make savoury, some we obviously have to keep it in line and in tune with students and how they love, or children, and how they love their chocolate and so forth like that. All right, let's take out, look at this. Look at that. Oh, the spinach dip. I'm just going to get my little spoon. Putting it over to the side, let's just do that. Then obviously, if you can see here, this is just if you cut out the inside of it and you use just plain bread without the decorative stem. Look at that. Oh, that's even better than the last time I had it. It's just amazing. All right, I honestly suggest you give it a go. And don't forget to stay tuned with us this week, because we are going to have it focused on kids. And let's pull out our last two. And we will work on our timing for next one. Bad manners. Eating while I'm talking. Okay. This one here, like I said, starting to ooze, but does need a little bit longer. Oh, look at that. Still does need a little bit longer in the oven because it should be really gooey. But I can tell you, when you see how you can pull it back, when it's really gooey, you can pull that back quite easily. And you just dip it in, and it has the most amazing flavour as well. I like to make sure I get a piece of garlic with it. No shame. But the garlic does need to just soften a little bit more. Wow. And then for our last one, like I said, this should be really gooey. But with live, fingers, I'm at home. My mouth is popping with flavour.
Yeah.
With the spinach and then the garlic. But that's me, I love flavours.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so for anybody watching, and the recipes will be online tomorrow, the same as last week. And then we'll also be putting up some timings for some future events next week to hopefully include the kids ready for Easter. So thank you very much for watching, and enjoy.
Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Bye-bye.